Hello and welcome to The Gist. I'm your host, Chris Vetrano, here every week to cover all the things happening in pop culture. And today we've got a special guest to chat with about pop culture and some of the acting roles that he's played. He spans all areas of entertainment, from the stage to the screen. You know him from his starring role in Disney's The Curious Case of Dolphin Bay and in the reimagining of Stephen King's Children of the Corn. Please welcome to The Gist, straight from Australia, Jayden McGinlay. Jayden, how are you?
Good. How are you doing, brother?
Doing well, doing well. Thanks for joining. I know it's early in the morning for you.
No, thanks for having me.
Of course, of course. So we're Children of the Corn, it just went live on digital streaming. So tell us a little bit about that role and what it was like to play it, because obviously a departure from the Disney role.
Yeah, for sure. Well, our film was written and directed by the incredible Kurt Wimmer. And this is definitely a fresh take on the original story by Stephen King. And this film is basically shown through the eyes of the children for a change, which I thought was really interesting. So the characters and the plot is different. And so I play the character of Cecil, who is the younger brother of Bolin, who's played by Elena Kampouris, who's also incredible. So about the character, I mean, Cecil has a lot of love for his sister. He has a really close connection to her. And I'm going to say this without giving away too much. So basically,
no spoilers.
Yeah, for sure. Basically, early on in the film, Bo gives Cecil the news that she's going to a university in Boston. And so he feels really kind of betrayed and lost in a sense. And there's kind of a clear sense of loneliness that he kind of like experiences, and that causes him to kind of, maybe take a wrong step.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a good setup. You got to watch the movie to see kind of where that takes him.
Definitely. Yes.
But we're live on the airwaves, so we're not able to show the imagery, so people are going to have to look this up. But the makeup that you had for this role, how long did that take to do? Because it was pretty spooky, at least what we were seeing in post. Maybe there was some special effects there, but it seemed like that was like a lot there.
I mean, sure, for other characters, there was a lot more time in the makeup chair. If you watch the film, you know what I mean. Yeah. But for me, everybody in the makeup department was absolutely incredible. And because we were filming during COVID, we had to sit in the chair for like 15 minutes before we had to get out for, there were like lots of like safety things put in place so we could only be in the makeup trailer for a certain amount of time. But everybody in that department was amazing, and I felt really comfortable and safe there the whole time. And so basically the process for me, because I basically dyed my hair for it. They made me dye my hair and tone it, so it was kind of like a blondie ginger. So I'd never dyed my hair before, so that was fun. Because my hair is obviously a lot darker than what you see in the film. And I also got freckles put on me every day. So with they used that flicky brush, that's what they called it. So it took maybe an hour, I think, in total. But yeah.
So I'm always fascinated. I love horror movies, and as spooky, the spookier the better. But it's always interesting to me to hear the perspective of what it's like shooting those things. You hear about like certain scenes that you see in movies and how it just doesn't feel the same on the set. Was there ever times on the set where it felt like you were in a horror movie, or does that sort of like that magic go away when you're in front of the camera on the set?
Sure. I mean, yeah, there's definitely a couple of scenes in there that I was a little bit freaked out by filming it. And working opposite Kate Moyer, she's amazing. She's so talented, and so you could easily get that creepy vibe off of her. But I think while we were filming it, I think the scariest thing about it was COVID. Like the whole time, like the world was essentially like crumbling around us, and we were literally the only film shooting on Earth at that point in time. We were filming from March to May.
Crazy.
And so, yeah, that felt like a horror movie. And literally, we were obviously scared going into it because this had never been done before, and we had to come up with our own safety protocols and everything like that.
Yeah.
And we literally on set, we didn't even know if we were able to shoot like the next day. We were just like, oh, well, they haven't shut us down yet. Maybe we can keep going.
Yeah. No,
But, I mean, we finished it, and I'm really grateful for that. So yeah, that was scary, but also it was kind of exciting, because we kind of paved the way for all the other productions in the world that were able to go after that.
yeah.
So yeah,
I mean, I imagine, yeah, that's got to be like pretty crazy. I mean, I remember being in the COVID times, and every
yeah,
day there was like new news coming out, and you
yeah.
were restrictions just kept coming up and getting tighter.
Exactly.
And
And people were just making things up because they didn't know what it was, they didn't know how to go about it. And it did take a while. And we were literally filming during the lockdown going, we had to kind of keep in our own bubble
yeah,
to kind of limit like exposure risks and things like that. But it was obviously the early stages of it, and luckily, literally not a single person, not cast or crew member, got sick on set.
oh, that's awesome. That's
And
good.
so, yeah, that was incredible. And shout out to obviously the creative team behind it: Lucas Foster, Kurt Wimmer, Matthew Bonson, Sean Harner, and the safety coordinator John Heaney as well for making it all happen. So
Yeah. So I imagine doing The Curious Case of Dolphin Bay was very different than in a lot of ways.
yeah,
COVID aside,
yeah.
though, this is obviously a very different film. So, kind of, what was the difference like for you? And then, what did you prefer in terms of kind of this lighthearted film versus this like darker horror movie?
Good question. Well, obviously, the character of Cease was very different to Teddy. Teddy's way more lighthearted, and he's kind
Yeah,
of a bit of a goofball. But no, that was a really fun role to play. But the sets obviously were completely different for obviously the COVID ways and things like
right.
that. But also, we shot Curious Case of Dolphin Bay in 15 days, which
Oh
is
wow.
very, very quick. And that was weekends off as well. So 15 days of shooting. And that was across 3 weeks. We had 1 week of like pre-production and like rehearsal time and things like that. But the thing was, with Children of the Corn, it kind of took a little bit of time to warm up to everybody because everybody was like wearing masks and like, oh, we need to distance, things like that. And it was only a little bit further on, we were like, okay, we're in our bubble, it's all good, and we can actually connect and like start like hanging out and stuff like that, But for
Right,
Dolphin
right.
Bay, literally, as soon as I met, Isabella Rose, Ella Probert, Allegra Tio, we all just clicked immediately, which was really special. And the cast and crew were just lovely. And because we were so passionate about it and we all just got along so well, everything clicked. And so then we were just able to shoot in that amount of time. So that's a main difference as well in that sense. But in terms of what I prefer, I'm not sure. I don't know if I can say one or the other.
Yeah, I mean, and don't, because then we might have
I
casting
mean,
directors
they're good.
listening. We
They're
want to
good
do all of
for
it.
complete. Yeah, I mean, they're good for completely different reasons.
Yeah,
I had an amazing time working on both of them, so I don't know if I have a preference per se. But yeah, I'm so grateful for that I was able to be a part of both of those. They were both very, very special and unique sets, I think.
yeah, no, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, kind of where your influences of pop culture come from. And obviously, you started your career very young on the stage, and so I imagine that there were certain things as a very young boy that you. Were drawn to, but where do you look to like kind of your inspiration, and where did like pop culture sort of start for you?
Good question. I mean, yeah, I was always into like dancing and singing and acting and stuff when I was like a toddler, basically. And so then yeah, literally. So I started acting on stage when I was 6. I got my first professional role on stage when I was 8, and that was the Australian tour of Chitty Bang Bang, which was amazing. And then yeah, so I started screen acting when I was 9. But because I've kind of always loved stage and screen, and I've watched so many actors, and their performances on screen and stage. I don't know if I can pinpoint like exact inspirations because I know I probably have tons.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've said this in the past, but Leonardo DiCaprio is obviously an actor that I'm very inspired by. I really aspired to do work like him, and it would be an honor to obviously work with him in the future. But I remember one of the first films I saw of him was What's Eating Gilbert Grape. Have you seen that film?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Wonderful.
Yeah, that was crazy.
It's a departure from really anything he's played since too.
Literally, and that was a film and a character that definitely moved me because I was like, wow, there's such a depth and vulnerability that he kind of brings to that character and all of his characters, obviously. But yeah, he's an actor that really inspires me.
Awesome, and and you mentioned singing. That was something that you love to do as well. And I know that you've been working on music of your own. So can you tell us a little bit about that and what people can expect?
For sure. I mean, I started singing from a very young age, and I started like piano at 6 years old as well. So I kind of have that. And music has kind of always been a part of my life. I've always loved different types of genres and all that stuff, different artists. But yes, I have got a song coming out very, very soon, which I'm excited for. I think people will really like it. I can't say an exact release date yet. We're still figuring the final things.
Of course.
But yeah, I'm excited. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah. I mean, so what is the sound? Because obviously like people have heard you on the stage, and that's like a Broadway. You mentioned the piano. So is this going to be, are we going to be like bopping to Jayden, or are we going to be kind of like smooth and mellow, like listening? Like what can we expect from you?
I mean, I've created lots of songs. I've created lots that I just haven't put out yet. Just waiting for the right time to do it, and like refining that sound. And so I've been working on lots of stuff. I've been going into urban pop. I've been going into just like proper pop. I've been exploring hip hop and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I would like to do a song with just like me and the piano, and that's kind of it down the track. But that's what I've kind of been focusing on right now. Just a lot of things. I'm just excited about a lot of stuff, and I just want to explore a lot of stuff. You know what I mean? You know where I'm coming from?
Yeah, you want to be the triple threat. You want to do it all: dance, sing, act.
I mean, and just like music-wise, I'm just like there's always something to learn, and there's always like if I hear like a piece of music that like inspires me, I'm like, oh, this would be cool to incorporate into maybe something like this, and I am very excited about that kind of stuff. So. Yeah.
We just recently had another Australian on the podcast in the pop music space, Betty, who I don't know if you are familiar with Betty's music, but if not, you should give it a listen. She delivers pop bops, 4 albums of great music. It's something that you should definitely listen to because she's kind of the Australian Katy Perry. So
really,
I
don't know how I haven't heard about it.
I know. I'm surprised actually because she is quite big. She's been around for a long time, and but yeah, she was just on. So I'm familiar with the accent at this point, and she's
definitely give it a listen for sure. Yeah,
you should check it out. And then so you also have a passion for wildlife, and so tell us a little bit about that. And I know that you want people to get involved in that. In that space and how they can kind of help preserve wildlife.
Yeah, for sure. I've always been passionate about wildlife, and then I started working with the World Animal Protection when I was 8 years old, and I just saw them in a shopping center one time, just like going around, just like telling people about it. And so I went up to them and I was like, I have $40 in my piggy bank. I can donate that.
That's awesome.
That was when I was like 8, and they were like, oh, it would be cool if you started like a fundraiser or something like that. That would be a great way to like raise money for it. And I was like, oh yeah, that's sick. So I came up with the idea of like making bookmarks, I think back then, and we
Oh,
raised
wow.
like tons of money. We raised over like $1,000, which was
My
crazy.
gosh.
And
As an
yeah, so
8-year-old,
sorry,
as an 8-year-old, you were doing
that,
this.
that
This
was
is
yeah, that was when I was 8 years old. Yeah, and then I did another fundraiser for them last year, and my brother Kieran helped with that, which was awesome. And so yeah, you can just go to their website, World Animal Protection, and there's a link to donate and things like that, and you know yeah,
awesome.
it's
Well,
it's 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 really important. Yeah.
yeah, was the love of wildlife, did that start somewhere specific for you, or was it just as a child you just fell in love with animals?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it was a specific thing. I was just kind of drawn to it.
At the
Yeah, I
store,
mean,
you saw
obviously,
them.
obviously, I have pets of my own, and so to think that they're being like mistreated like in the wild, that's obviously unfair, and there was a sense of kind of injustice there. So yeah,
Yeah.
kind of took it into my own hands at that age, and yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, it's incredible for anyone to be doing that today, let alone at 8 years old, deciding that you're going to essentially start a business, making bookmarks, and then turning that money right around. And you mentioned your $40 in your piggy bank to give them. It's
Yeah.
like most people are using that money to like buy video games and toys and things at that age.
Yeah.
So
I
that's
mean, yeah, I've
commendable.
I've never really been into like the video game scene. I don't know much about that at all. So
Same, same. Yeah. No,
yeah.
I'm a music lover. I will binge watch things for days, but when it comes to video games, I can't get on board.
It's not even that. I have I have a PlayStation 2, which I don't ever use, and yeah, I'm literally my video game knowledge is very minimal,
Yeah,
and people are saying that I should change it, but I just need to find the time.
I just finished watching on HBO the Last of Us, which I
Yes,
got.
me too. What
It
did you
was
think?
amazing. Oh, I thought it was
Yes,
amazing. I mean,
yeah.
Pedro Pascal and the actress, I can't remember her name, Ellie, that played Ellie. She
What's her
was
name?
so
Bella Ramsey.
good.
Bella Ramsey.
Bella Ramsey, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
amazing, amazing show. And then
yeah,
somebody had told me that they're like, oh, well, it's following the game, and so people like know what's going to happen and what happens
yeah,
after the season
yeah.
finale and stuff. And I was
Mm.
like, oh, I have no interest in the game part of this, but what an incredible show it made.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the writing is amazing, and the characters are obviously really well developed, and the actors obviously bring them to life. So they're obviously incredible. But yeah. I mean, if a video game like adaptation like came up, I mean, if an adaptation of a video game like came across my table and there was like a really good script, then I'd be on board for that.
Oh
I
yeah, for
just
sure.
yeah, yeah. I just don't have much knowledge.
Yeah, what other kind of like shows and movies are you sort of loving right now?
Mm. I mean, Stranger Things. I'm excited for the next season.
Yeah.
That's really exciting. Um, the Whale. I haven't finished it, but from what I've seen so far, it's incredible. Brendan Fraser is amazing.
Yeah.
I saw him in like Encino Man and
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff from back in the
Yeah.
day, and so seeing his kind of return in a sense is really awesome to see.
Yeah, it was nice to
Um,
see him win the Oscar, and he put
for
in a
sure,
lot of work and really
for
transformed
sure.
his entire body, and I mean a
Yeah,
lot
yeah,
goes
yeah.
into doing that I can't imagine, and so he really
Definitely.
devoted himself to that role.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, hmm. I'm excited for Joker 2 to come out as well. Joker is one of my favorite movies.
Yeah.
And Joaquin Phoenix is amazing in that. So yeah, I'm always down to watch that.
And
Uh,
how do you feel about the Lady Gaga?
I'm excited. I'm excited to see what she does with it. I've seen her in, House of Gucci and Star is Born and all that kind of stuff. And so I'm excited to see how she does it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I know
Yeah.
people are like kind of like skeptical a little bit by going, oh, yeah, it has like musical elements and that's not what it should be. But I'm like, I know they'll incorporate it in a fun way. I feel like they're going to do something like a Clockwork Orange, personally.
Oh yeah. Oh, that would be
Yeah.
interesting. I
Yeah.
mean,
I think they could do something along the lines of that and I'd be completely down.
Yeah, it will be
Yeah.
really interesting. I know, when you start dipping into the DC Marvel kind of universes, people get a little bit nuts with like the way that they feel like you're encroaching in their space, and so
Yeah, I mean, the
everyone's got an
fandom
opinion.
for that is crazy. I
Yeah,
admit that they're
that's
crazy.
another one where I haven't gotten like fully on board. Like I like some of the old school like Batman movies and some of the
Yeah,
originals, but
yeah, like the
nowadays it's
Dark
like,
Knight and things like that.
oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
But now it's just like there's so many of them and they're just like
yes,
these huge budgets and they're also just so long. So it's hard
mm,
to kind of like prioritize those movies.
yeah, that's true.
Uh, yeah, so tell us a little bit. I know, so Children of the Corn
Yes,
available now digitally on the
yes,
streaming platforms,
yep,
and then The Curious Case of Dolphin Bay is available on Disney Plus.
yep, that's right.
Is that right? Awesome.
Yep.
And so I know we kind of talked a little bit about which ones you preferred, which you couldn't really pick, but tell me a little bit about the process in preparing for those roles, because I imagine very different in sort of getting into the headspace of that.
Mm. Yeah, well, for Children of the Corn, it was obviously because of Corona and stuff like that. We did a lot via Zoom and things like that. And then, because Kurt directed as well as wrote the script, so that we kind of had a bit of an upper hand there. That was kind of a privilege to be able to work with him on that, because he knows these characters so well, and so he was able to articulate, what he thought of them really clearly. But also he allowed a lot of room for like collaboration, and there was kind of a freeness as well, which was really awesome. I'm really grateful for that. Um, and yeah, I mean, obviously the characters are different, so you approach them in slightly different ways. But I mean, at the end of the day, you're getting into their headspace. You obviously have to break down like, what do they want in the scene, all that kind of stuff. How are they going to get it? And so at the end of the day, it's kind of I kind of approached them very similar ways, even though they were very different. Teddy was just fun. I feel like I could inject a lot of my own personality into him.
Yeah, I
He's
was
he's
curious. Yeah,
he's definitely more like upbeat
yeah,
than Cecil. Um, but yeah, I mean, there was so much. There was definitely a sense of collaboration there as well. Directed by Christine Luby, who's incredible. And yeah, so that was just really fun. I just got to ad lib a little bit, and at the beginning, actually, in the rehearsal process, the first time we met, actually, she was like, "Oh, she said, this film is kind of like a sandbox, and we can like chuck little like toys and stuff into the sandbox and see what works, and if it doesn't, we can just throw stuff out." And that's the way we kind of approached it, which
oh
is
nice.
really awesome and freeing. And so yeah, that was an awesome experience.
Yeah, and what a schedule that was. You got to complete a film in 15 days. You got weekends
Yeah,
off. I mean, that's not the
yeah,
normal kind
for
of like
sure.
acting
And
gig.
yeah, for sure. And we literally the whole first week we shot on a beach on the Gold Coast,
Oh my
which
gosh.
which is crazy. I'm like, how is this our job? This is
Yeah.
sick.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Um, well, that's awesome. Well, I'm very impressed with you. I think that you have done so much, and as you said, started so young, and I think continue to do that. And we're potentially looking at the next Leo here, so I think
Oh,
that
thank
that's
you. I
great.
appreciate that.
And but tell folks where they can find you and stay up to date as you release music and other things.
I mean, you can follow me on Instagram at Jayden McGinlay. That's kind of where I'm most active. You can follow me on Twitter at Jayden_McGinlay, I believe. I have a Facebook page at also Jayden McGinlay, and I also have a website, which is www.jaydenmcginlay.com. So
Awesome.
yeah,
And then soon on Spotify and all of the music streaming platforms too,
yes,
because
yes,
you're
yes,
gonna
yes. On
continue down
Spotify,
that.
Apple Music, all that stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're gonna be the triple threat. So,
Oh, stop it!
um,
You're too good.
No, I think it's very cool. I hope everyone goes and checks out Children of the Corn. It's as you said, it's a reimagined take. It's kind of a new version of a really old classic movie, and so people should definitely check that out. And then on Disney Plus, The Curious Case of Dolphin Bay. Follow Jayden, continue to follow him as he releases his music. And we know that there's going to be a lot more projects in the future from you as well. But like I said, it's early for you, so I'm going to let you go. But I really appreciate you stopping by The Gist, and I'll definitely be following along to see what you do next.
Oh, awesome. Well, thank you very much for having me, Chris. I really appreciate it, and it is a pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, you as well. Well, awesome. Well, thanks all for listening. Don't forget to rate and subscribe so you never miss an episode of The Gist. You can follow me at CM Vetrano on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all the socials. And then, of course, you can visit listenitsvetrano.com for all of the pop culture news that you may have missed here. But thanks for tuning in, and we hope that you have a great weekend. Bye.